funny because twice they had twice they were saying they were going to do this and then disappeared after radar. I think it's bullshit.
What?
When they the event,
Yeah, where you be walking in front of
tell them to send what they got to do.
it is what it
Here's
is.
what they said.
Yeah, but that's not,
They don't have it. According to them, they have nothing. That's an issue. What to do? This one, this one has a call list. I mean, this is bad.
this year, this
This is it. And again, all this, and it's who's in charge, and then.
yeah.
So this, basically, I think it's gonna be this.
Yeah, you're right.
We don't want to talk to them.
I've never seen it. I will check my files and make sure.
This one,
That was the piece.
All of these should be revising. Somebody was
I was gonna be happy to be done by 7. So 7:15 wasn't bad. 7:15 wasn't bad. I was pushing for 7, but. Oh, I didn't do that.
Are we still recording all the way through, Kim? You're still on?
We're waiting. Oh.
She's on it. She's on it. Got it.
All right, we get to our regular meeting here. Okay, call the meeting to order. This is the regular town board meeting, town B strike for November. That's November 14th, and it's 7:22 p.m. We are in order. Roll call vote. Clarkowski here.
Wales here.
Reyes here. Church here.
Pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And also recognition, Veterans Day was just past year, this last Friday. In honor of the veterans, I think sometimes people forget after a couple of years that Veterans Day still means something. And it's very important to keep that in mind, and any veterans also give them a cheer on that day. It's a big thank you to them. Okay, are all of our postings in order for tonight's meeting?
Yes, sir.
All right, agenda, approval, or deletions, or no additions? All right, a motion to approve the agenda as posted?
I move we approve the agenda for the regular town board meeting for November 14th, 2022 as presented.
No second.
Second?
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment, please?
Yes, sir.
So this is my 6th town board meeting since being elected, and there are no fewer than 25 actionable items on this agenda. 10 of them have handouts attached to them. 15 of them, 60% of them have no handouts. So I've had no opportunity to read anything that I'm gonna hear and research, or I have no idea who even made those proposed items on the agenda. So my concern is if we're going to allow for discussion, consideration, deliberation, and possible formal action, we ought to work in the future towards having handouts and requests and background and research done, submitted to the clerk, approved by the chairman, and in our hands when the packets are distributed the week before this meeting. Thank you.
Okay, I agree, and I think we'll be having a special meeting on that. Sounds like it. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. The motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, 5-0. Okay, treasurer's report.
Nope, minutes first.
Oh, minutes. Oh, I put one extra check, didn't I? All right, the first one is planning commission, October 5th.
Motion to approve the planning commission minutes as presented from the October 5th, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Right, Barb, second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. We have a regular October meeting. We have a special meeting October 7th, and I do have a change on that. Second last paragraph, Supervisor Reyes moved to extend a 3-year contract. That's the only change I've seen on October 7th.
And,
The changes, all right, motion please.
I make a motion that we to approve the special town board meeting minutes for October 7th, 2022 with one amendment.
I'll second.
Okay, Barb made the motion, Chad second. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? None, 5-0. All right, now we have the regular board meeting of October 10th. I think as long as that one is, I don't have any marks on that
I
one.
didn't have any change.
Anything else?
No.
All right, motion please.
Make a motion to approve the regular town board meeting minutes for Monday, October 10th, 2022.
Second.
Michelle, second.
For discussion, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, if I may ask,
Please.
2 questions of the deputy clerk and the clerk. Is it your intention that committee reports as transcribed are official minutes for those meetings?
What I did when I did these minutes is I took the reports that were submitted and then any highlights that were presented at the meeting in bullet points below. So I did, for instance, Department of Public Works, what was submitted, and then any highlights that Superintendent Shield had for us in the following bullet points.
So it would not be construed as official minutes of those committees. Okay. Second question, at the end of this agenda, there are numerous special and pending meeting dates. I asked the clerk, and if you construed that those official dates and times are sufficient for an official notification of a public meeting.
No, they are not.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Okay, the regular meeting of October 10th to approve, all in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? None. Then we have, I think that was it for meeting minutes, correct?
Yes.
And we have, treasurer's report there, so we have that. Okay, now treasurer's report.
You actually have 2 treasurer's reports tonight. At last month's meeting, the bank statements had not arrived at that point. So the treasurer's report for September was completed later. Did you have any questions on that before I presented the October treasurer's report?
I did
No.
not.
Okay. Treasurer's report for October 2022. Total receipts were $9,342.89. Transfers were $193,000.93. Interest earned was $127.16. Balance as of September 13th was $29,865.69. Total funds for October were $232,336.67. Checks paid in October were $221,374.81, leaving a final balance of $10,961.86. Boat launch to date was $50,409.60.
Okay.
I'm guessing it should be September 30th. I think you read September 13th on the balance And September has 30 days, it says September 31st.
I think she was just reading from October.
I just read October's, I did not read September's.
You read October's, and if we look at the balance as of September 31st, 2022,
Yeah, it's the
September
same.
has 30 days. I'm just,
Oh, it's
just a typographical error that I'm mentioning.
Oh,
When you read it, you said
Gotcha.
the 13th.
The
but I'm assuming
31st.
It's the 30th.
yeah, yeah, sorry.
Just a typo.
Gotcha.
September only has 30 days.
That's my fault.
correct.
Michelle's copy, yes, I
Okay.
understand. Thank you.
All right, any other questions on the treasurer's report? Go ahead.
How does our boat launch balance, or boat launch at the end of the year compared to like last year or so?
Last year, this year, we're a little bit shorter.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, thank you though for the answers.
Make a motion?
I move that we accept the town of Detroit treasurer's report for the month of October as presented.
Second.
All right, motion, second, any discussion?
Do we need to include the September budget in that motion?
The
Since it
motion
wasn't
was just to
presented.
accept her report, so if her report included 2 months and something.
Yeah, we're good. All right, on the motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay. Nothing else, Kim?
Nope.
Treasurer's report? Okay. Report committees, my report is brief. I did visit the Moon property on 10/22 because I wanted to see that one in person. And had a tour. It was, I got to see what the issues were. And then on 10/18, we had a Troy meeting, which is the, Troy chairman and the village president. We were supposed to have another one, this Thursday, but we could cancel that because I think, Scott is going deer hunting. So that's my only meetings, I have to report on from last month. Public Works, Scott, you got anything other than your report?
We received all the new playground equipment for the park, and it's all installed last week. Kids have been using it, liking it.
Once again, the quick
I think it's a
turnaround.
really good addition that they did. We got our first load of brine in this week too, for our nice upcoming weather. And, we got 90% of our snow fences up. Can't do much more, cause, farm fields are still got corn standing.
Okay, we're good. Just a point of order on that, we had talked about the damage on, your road,
Bell School Road.
Bell School Road.
Yeah.
We're gonna be chasing that one next spring yet, cause they attempted to repair it and they made it worse.
I think so, yeah. It was a cooler day. We've been fighting with this company since beginning of June on the road damage. Cause they didn't wanna pay for it. And then we got a hold of the homeowner that he did the project for and kinda forced his hand on it. But it was supposed to be done to our specs, cause it was a brand new road, and they did a horrible job trying to patch it. A little hand torch and some cold patch, they tried to melt in there.
That's a no-go.
No.
So we'll be, talking about that one next year. Okay, thank you. Police report. Chief still here, come on up. Back there, whatever.
For the month of October, there was a total of 516 calls for service. I did a little adjusting to account for the high number of house checks and business checks that we do. And that still averages us out to 3.6 calls for service a day, which is a pretty fair number for the size of department that we are. Total for the year, we're on the 317th day of the year, and we've had 8,554 calls for service. That does include all our house checks and that, but still, we're over 8,000 calls for service for the year of 2022. And that's quite a number for an agency that was running at less than half staff. So that's pretty impressive from where I'm sitting at this point. My second item. Lieutenant Jogowski turned in his letter, oh, sorry, Bill.
Chief, so, having said that, does there come a point where you don't respond, or you triage the calls and perhaps just deal with it over the telephone?
No, we have responded to 8,554 calls. Our squad car has gone to 8,554 calls this year. And that's not sheriff's cars going to those, that's town of Detroit cars going to those.
Chief,
So,
just a question on that, I know you said like with house and business checks and stuff, and that's all call of service, but is it also the calls of service of, extra patrols, or, you know, I know you use it as it's kind of used as accountability, you know, for officers, the extra patrols and all that, that's all in there?
that would be part of the house checks and
So if you
that.
went
Yep.
down a little extra here or there,
Yep.
it's, you know,
And-
driving
and-
wise? Okay.
I've not noticed a lot of, what I would call padding of the numbers, because when I get in the morning, usually I review the RMS side, which I can also see the sheriff's office numbers when I review, so if we go uncovered, I also look to see if the county came into the township and handled any calls,
Sure.
and do any follow-up, because, well, I might be getting a phone call on it. But yeah, that would be, part of those numbers.
Okay.
And you can adjust those out, and that's what I did. So we're still at 3.6 calls in 317 days. That's eliminating, the extra patrol. So we're quite a busy little agency here, which I think a lot of people would be surprised at, because I know when I started looking at the numbers and crunching numbers, I was kind of shocked, so.
But it
Next item.
averages to one per shift, right?
I'm sorry.
3.6 per day, but average to like one per
A
shift.
call shift, yep. So, and, not all of those are rescue calls. Again, sitting today, the village, they got slammed, they're like 3, 4, 5 rescue calls, and that they're responding to today, and we don't have that kind of volume so far, with that, but they're definitely on the uptick.
Thank you.
The other agenda item, Lieutenant Jogowski had turned in his letter to step down as lieutenant. Looking at the staff that we currently have employed, including part-timers, and seeing the qualifications, I went ahead and did interviews for a potential replacement, for Lieutenant Jogowski. And I would like to recommend to the board, that Scott Runge be appointed the next lieutenant. I'm not looking for necessarily action on that, I just wanted to advise you, so maybe you could enter into a closed session and discuss that.
Because that's a management position, would we ask him to come in for a brief meet and interview?
But every eligible, candidate that was currently employed by the Town of East Troy Police Department, received an opportunity for an interview, including Rebecca, who I had a great conversation with, so, no one was left out.
I thought, did Rebecca get chief position at Eagle?
Yeah, but I still wanted to
Oh,
make
okay.
that contact with her and make the offer for the interview, and if she was interested, she's
Okay,
certainly
I
more than
understand.
qualified.
Understood.
Promotion's effective January 1st?
That would be, up to you folks on when you wanna do it. I know John's contract would expire on the 31st. I would hope that we are ready to go and in place maybe a few days sooner, so, it's not a New Year's Day type of event.
Okay,
And the last item on the raise, you spoke about the, Moon Pier permit. I'm not aware of it, but it fell under the police, so.
yeah, that's normally where it goes, and the ones when you're now sitting here, you'll be reviewing it first. Obviously, the town board approves them. This particular one fell in between, you know, so
Okay.
I pretty much just took care of it, so.
That-
It's okay.
Yeah, anything on the radio project?
Sorry.
Radio?
Thank you. The Walworth County Radio Project, which Captain Newman is diligently working through to secure radio towers and radio tower space. Right now, we have an opportunity to enter into a contract with GenCom at a reduced rate. They are guaranteeing the radio prices for when the project is anticipated to be complete. That cost would be about $60,000, and we have until December 15th to make that decision and sign that agreement paperwork. After December 15th, the prices will go up, and it will be more than $60,000 to equip the squad cars and the officers with portable radios. So, yep, I'm sorry, Barbara.
Isn't it Radicom?
It's GenCom, Radicom, they're the same company.
I didn't know
They,
they diversified.
they all have they're combined.
Okay.
So sometimes when I get their card, it says GenCom, sometimes it says Radicom.
Sorry, husband formerly worked for them, so I was slightly confused.
All right, any other
So
questions?
you have a draft of the contract that they want us to sign, is that?
I don't have a draft of the contract. I wanted to make sure it was on the agenda. Captain Todd Newman and Scott Smith from GenCom Radicom are willing to come and talk and answer the very specific questions that you folks may have for that. But I just wanted to present it to the board because we are coming up on that. There's one more meeting before the 15th of December, and I've reached out to talk to both of them. Coming here, and they said they were willing to do that.
And our December 8th, Walworth County Unit WTA meeting, that's gonna be at the courthouse. Both our new sheriff and the person in charge of the radios, Newman, they're gonna speak, as well as he said he's also going to get another person that can speak more directly to that, as well as ATVs, by the way, so.
What date, Joe?
December 8th. 5:30 PM, Elburn,
Is that a ICC or a WTA meeting?
WTA, Walworth County. And
I just wondered if we could get a contract that Attorney Mills could look at, or we had talked about, could it almost be done as a letter of intent, because we're not really
Well, we
buying
have-
them right away?
They were-
Assuming they have a template, but,
We need something on paper.
I understand that. And again, coming into this in late September, I don't have any of that paperwork, and that wasn't shared. Captain Newman and I sat down and I have the pricing. I didn't obviously bring it with me. It's in my office, I can run and get it real quick. But that is what the pricing is gonna be on the paperwork. So, I guess maybe having Scott here and get some paperwork as,
special meeting.
get it here before so you guys can review it, and then maybe at the next town board meeting, we can have a intelligent discussion about it.
Okay. All right, and I'll take care of the moon thing here right now, but.
Okay.
I don't think there was anything else in the agenda that you necessarily had to stick around for if you didn't want to. I don't see anything else here. So if you wanted to go, you could.
Okay.
All right, the Moon Pier permit / variance, I put in the packet, the facts and analysis recommendation. And, not really seen that, it was in there. And, since it's a variance, we definitely have to have a discussion here on precedent. And we also have to have a discussion on when a variance is allowed. But the way this ordinance is written, it's really the board that makes a decision on that. That's the way I read it. So I'm gonna go through this. And again, Kent Moon's Pier registration variance request at West 1819 Lake Road. The facts are that pier existed prior to 4/17/12, so therefore it's grandfathered. In other words, if the same size pier was put in there, it would be put in anywhere on that property within the riparian line, including up to on top of it.
Whether it's a permanent pier or it's one you take in and out?
Doesn't matter. That's whatever's in the water during the use. The existing pier is 494 square feet. The proposed pier is 576, so there's a 17% increase, so it's being enlarged. And since the new pier is an enlargement, a new permit is required. It's not a deal, yes, it's grandfathered, but it's being increased in size, so therefore you need a new permit. When you get a new permit, now you go to the rule that says no longer is, you know, just within the riparian zone, but 12 foot off. And that's the reason for the variance request here. This pier is not located in a Lake Beulah sensitive area, so no DNR input's required here. If the new pier was not being enlarged, it could be reconfigured and be located on the riparian line. The new pier is required to be 12 feet clear of the riparian line, and go through the sketches. The new pier does not meet the pier exemption requirements of Wisconsin statute 30.12 sub 1G sub F. My analysis said this is an unusual and somewhat unique shoreline in this location, the bay. The main reason for the enlargement is to obtain sufficient depth of water, that's a statutory right. The main pier attachment to shore can be considered permanent because the shoreline structure is attached to is actually an erosion control system, and there's a picture of that, and that's a beneficial attribute. It stops the water from the land directly going into the lake at that point.
Was it seawall or was it?
Yeah,
No,
it's a
it's a,
short,
basically a small, like 8 inches.
there's a picture of that.
I couldn't.
Look at the one with the dog.
Yep.
And see that, okay, that little knee wall there, both, actually covers no frontage, right?
Yeah, well, it goes along, it's the plant bed, it goes along and I put that in the center, so when it runs, so what happens when there's a storm? Everything comes from the front of the house, 2 sides. And I mean, I've had the bottom, you can see like debris coming down, and so that stops that from going into the lake, basically washing out.
Rainwater.
Yeah, that's rainwater, yeah, overland flow.
Yeah.
So that's why I mentioned that,
And
that's
it's
the picture.
Big storm like we've had, like I say, I don't know, 2 or 3 this year, but the year before it was even worse. But everything comes from the front of the house, and it's just two sides of the house, and just naturally runs down that hill.
All right, that's why I mentioned that. And then for the neighboring property owners, the Johnsons, they have no issue with the pier being located on the riparian line in perpetuity. My recommendation, and it's really subject to our discussion here, for the 4 reasons listed there, and being not detrimental to public interest, I was gonna recommend approval of it, but we have to have the discussion of precedent, we have to have the discussion of, when you have a variance, usually that means there's no other reasonable option, okay? So we go to the picture, first of all, you got the letter from the Johnsons. Are the Johnsons here, by the way?
No,
Okay, they signed that. But on the, one exhibit there, it's called A101, the one with the new piers, showing the existing piers. You can see what the difference are there, okay? And then if you look
What is
at
that, hold on, what is that, what are you showing?
A101, the big,
Yeah.
yeah, that one. Okay, so the light pier, that's the existing piers, the light hatch. The dark lines, that's the new, okay? So in effect, the wide pier is just being realigned, and the other small pier is being moved. And then a support wall or a support structure right on the riparian line. So if you look at the shoreline exhibit, Lake Beulah shows the existing condition, that's how it started. Mr. Moon put in another lift on the north side of the small pier, and that falls half in and half out of his riparian zone, because it's coterminous line in that situation, okay?
So I'm looking at this as a lift.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
half.
it's the line right to the left.
Is half over as
Right.
it sits right
The
now.
whole idea is to move that over to that line. However, being it's a new pier, it's supposed to be 12 feet after that line, so that's why there's a request for variance, and that's why we need the discussion, both for precedent as well as hardship. Mr. Moon could put that lift, that's the problem right now, on the other side of the large pier, but that's where there's a beach area, and the connection for the big pier, that should and can't be moved, okay? So that's our discussion point.
Well, that was my other question. So is this like it's a paver, like paver
Yeah,
patio in
it's
front,
a
in front of
It's a
Flagstone.
flagstone.
And then it's basically just, the pier just still sits on
Yeah.
shore and your flagstone
Right.
bumps up to the
Right.
pier.
Yep.
So what you're asking is everything's over here, something may have to, in order to get into the riparian zone, would have to come to, pretty much would be the other side of this
Right,
pier as well.
right.
Yep. Right, so that is the other option, and again, we discussed it, and I looked at it, and, there is a beach there, however, does that come to the definition of a hardship, so or not?
I mean,
I would argue legally no.
no, and everything, I don't know, this is always a giant discussion on the lake. And many people have come in front of this board, I know there's been a lot of decisions made, you know, just, and if the neighbor signs something, is that,
That's a secondary question, we didn't.
The problem is, I'm sorry,
no, you're good.
if you find a hardship here, when there is another option, the precedent you're setting is, you have to look to find that hardship in every other case from here on out.
Understood.
My advice is no.
That was gonna be my
Jim,
comment of.
Jim, did you have a chance to look at, chapter 16 before tonight's meeting? 'Cause I think the concern is the depth of the water.
Yeah,
He can go to 3 feet depth.
Yep.
We're not arguing the length of the pier,
The location.
we're arguing location.
Correct, so the exemption, does not take away the riparian rights of the other owners.
No, repairing rates,
So,
Or set.
can you forever allow the new pier, as Mr. Johnson is allowing? Can you forever allow that riparian right to be given away for future owners?
No.
For example, what happens if
And I
that property
raised
gets
that,
sold?
Prior to the meeting. That was another one of my concerns with what was listed on Joe's recommendation. I don't believe his current neighbor can bind all future
Right.
owners of a
regardless
property.
of how it's recorded.
Correct.
Okay, that's the elementary question number one, and the other one is precedent. All right.
We'd have to
And-
change our ordinance.
But Michelle and I previously denied this pier permit last month because it wasn't in the riparian zone. And this design still isn't in the riparian zone, so how can I change my vote if I last month said no because it wasn't in the
Well,
riparian?
and a big part of it is moving forward, you know? So it's good for one, it's good for all, and if it's something that's not a definite hardship or for whatever reasons, that it's no different than anything else we do. It's, you know, we kinda have a,
I'm actually forgetting how, we denied it last time because of that reason, but that was a different location.
I think it was a different.
It was
design.
and I think it was a notice issue, that if there was going to be discussion and possible argument on what is a hardship, it should have been noticed differently.
Okay, so, what I'm hearing, well, Barbara, did you finish with your point? Oh, actually, you did make your point, so
Yeah.
any concerns? What I'm hearing here is, you know, the hardship deal is saying you have no other option. You do have one more option, and that is to put it on the south side of that large pier, okay? And that does impact your beach area, but you're already shoved, you know, pretty close up there. Actually, if you pull that out and put that lift on the other side, you can meet that 12-foot offset.
Or just leave everything the way it is and do what I've been doing, put it in and out. But the problem is, all the wind blows down that way all the time, and there's like 3 feet of muck. And then it's getting less and less, so, you know, the next thing would be to dredge it out, I guess.
Well, no, you can go to the 3 foot, you just have to be 12 foot off that riparian line. That's-
But if I don't change anything, then the grandfather, and I don't do anything.
Well, the only change you made when you had that lift, that was different than, you know, what was grandfathered.
Right.
You just did that this year or last?
No, that's been 4 years.
Since you've been there.
Yeah, well, we put it in, when we got there, we put that in for our boat, yeah.
Okay,
So I think we've been here 5, 6 years.
okay, so that's when that happened,
Yeah.
so,
It doesn't, that doesn't go back to,
No, the lift, not the lift, but the other lift does in the
Oh,
dock.
okay.
The other two piers.
Two
were-
piers and the pontoon lift goes back to the
okay.
two.
Those
Yeah.
are all grandfathered.
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, the aerial view,
Those are all in
from
the
2010.
correct space, right? It's basically.
2010? Yeah.
That's what it can, yeah.
Yep, it showed those two piers and the one lift, not the second one, that one he added 4 years ago. Okay. All
But when
right.
you looked at the property and where the property line is, you look at you can't, I didn't know anything about a riparian line until I just got a survey on it. It's not in any survey. So I paid to get that survey.
To include that repair line.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so I guess your options are, is if you wanna increase the size of it, which means the length, to get to your 3 foot, you'd have to be 12 foot off that line. That would mean that last lift from 4 years ago would have to be on the south side of the big pier instead of north of the existing lifts. Right.
If I extend it, or just leave it the way I have it, and I just do the same thing I've been doing for,
But the lift is new on that side of the smoke
Yeah.
area, right?
Yeah.
That isn't since 2012, so
Right.
wouldn't that make a difference on the grandfather clause?
Yeah, it would.
yeah.
Technically, that shouldn't be there.
Correct.
If I'm
Yeah, I guess that's how-
understanding it
Yeah.
correct.
Yes. Relevant to this
So-
issue, right?
So you
I
should
think
still-
it's the opinion of the management district that, any new pier should conform to the ordinances of the town of East Troy. And if they don't, it shouldn't be approved unless there's a hardship clause. And
Understood.
it's
Okay,
a manner of setting a precedent of all pier permits going forward.
Is that, was it, the new pier also, were you gonna do a the permanent pier type of?
Permanent, these aren't permanent here now.
No, what you were wanting or looking to do with the permanent piers?
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, because what I could do then is I could put the list would be permanent and it would be stacked on top of the, on the permanent piers. And the problem is right now I can't get the list deep enough in the water because of the muck keeps on growing and growing. So I need to get either I have to get it dredged
Mhm.
so I could, 'cause,
Oh, I understand. I'm in the same position.
yeah, so it, no matter what, the list, they have issues getting the list in, and then what happens when it gets in the summer, and the water goes down, then it's tough, I can't really get any of the pontoon, I can barely get out, but the ski boat, it's just tough to get out.
all right, so it sounds like you're gonna be talking to your pier guy, you're probably gonna be extending it, but just keep in mind you have to be 12 foot off that line.
If I extend, I have to, because it's a new,
If you increase the total square foot of what's there now, yes. If it's the same square foot, but in order to get your length, then you'd have to narrow up that big wide one. And that is quite a wide pier, I've never seen one actually that wide, but it is apparently legal.
yeah,
Was it
it was like,
11 foot?
yeah.
Wide, I think it is. Yeah, so if you narrow that up, you can get to the 3 foot of water. So, okay, we need a motion then on this permit hearing request.
I'll make a motion to deny Mr. Moon's pier permit at W1819 Lake Road, Mclenago, for the following reasons. It was previously denied because it was not contained to the property's riparian zone, it still isn't. It also does not meet the setback off the riparian zone. The approval would set a precedent, and that would affect all other properties required to comply with riparian zone precedents. And if the neighbor, the Johnsons, were to sell their property, new owners may not agree to where the pier would be placed.
However, I think you need to add, since this is a variance request, that no hardship was found.
I've modified my motion to include that no hardship, that a single hardship was not found.
All right, we have the motion, we have a second.
I'll
Yeah,
second.
I'll second.
Chad, second. Yep. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed?
Sorry.
Thank you. All right, East Troy Area Emergency Services District report.
Are there any questions?
No questions for me?
Do you, look, have you seen the radio contract?
I have a meeting tomorrow night, and that's, something that will be presented by Chief DeGarro, but ours is roughly, $200,000.
Yeah, I was just thinking for the language, not
I
dollars.
have not seen the language yet. I have not.
Okay.
I know that this is a deal that was established by Captain Todd Newman from Walworth County Dispatch
Yeah.
that allowed all Walworth County emergency services and fire, police, rescue to participate in. And if we chose to not do what the offer was, then we would be on our own and subject to what fire rate.
Right.
Okay, so no other questions on that, okay, park committee reports?
Just a request. So Barb, this is your modified, from your minutes of your official meeting, this is your modified report for this point.
Correct.
Do we have to accept this?
I don't know.
What's your report?
We haven't necessarily done that in the past, I don't know if there's a reason to.
No, it's usually a representative from that committee. There's a difference between representatives that are appointed and actual town committees.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, now park committee report.
Yeah, as Todd mentioned, the playground equipment arrives, they got it put in right away, including the sand area for the backhoe. I was able to take some pictures, so I'll send those to Jen to put on the, website and maybe the Facebook page. We'll also look to include them in our newsletter. I took some, of the whole area and the signs from the boat launch and from the park. That's about it.
Okay, very good. Goose Lake Memorial Park Committee?
Yeah, we actually have started doing some renovations, some, I think, much needed, for the building down there at the park, for the house, and for the concession. Some updates, electrical work and some such, needed to be updated for reasons of blowing fuses and such, so that's the big one that's going on right now, and, things seem to be going pretty smooth.
Okay, very good. Lake Buell Management District report?
I don't have any
Okay.
report.
Thank you. Recycling Committee, John?
Oh, nothing really on cycling.
Okay, library?
Yes, there's a couple of notes here, from library board meeting of 8 November 22. Number one, the Lions Club made a donation to the East Troy Public Library in the amount of $1,500. These are show proceeds, car show proceeds. The donation will be used to replace a stained and worn out rug in the lower level children's area, as well as replacing office furniture and purchasing a locking file cabinet. Number two, the merger of the Arrowhead and Lake Shores library systems has been approved. All libraries now must approve an agreement with the newly formed Prairie Lakes Library System. East Troy Public Library approved the agreement, and all participating library agreements must be in effect and to the DPI by January 15th, 2023.
So it's called Prairie Lakes what?
That would be let me get it again, that's the Prairie Lakes Library System.
Library system. Okay. Okay. That it for?
That's it, that's,
All right. Thank you to you and Christine.
we'll do that.
All right, communications report, base report.
Yes, so, I was happy to announce that we had 2 new volunteers for the communications committee in order to get us back to full staff, but apparently someone else beat me to the punch line and added it to the agenda on my behalf.
It was me, I added.
So Joe and Mary Jo Jones volunteered. As you know, they've been actively participating in our town board meetings. They provide valuable inputs. They have great resources to help with drafting documents and things like that. And as we said, we were down 2 members. Quite honestly, I would not be in a position to decline volunteers with the way things have gone in my 1.5 years of service here on the board. I understand that will require an update to our resolution of committee appointments.
Well, the
but I-
chairman would have to appoint, and then the board has to vote on any committee member. So that's why it's on.
So that's not how we handled the original communications committee.
That's what the town code says.
Yeah,
It's all
so,
in recording.
What we did on the original one was anybody that volunteered, I talked to, and I made the resolution, the entries, and the board discussed and
It
voted.
was the ad hoc committee.
That original one was ad hoc, and
I
the
was gonna
second,
say, you talked to
second-
Grace Bird and
Second.
Leah.
these last ones that came up, that was the people that, again, we use the same pattern, anybody that volunteered, you know, ended up on the resolution, okay, and the board did that, so I'll be talking to the Joneses soon. I haven't been to your store yet, so what days a week you work there?
I don't have a store.
No?
No, I'm retired. I'm available.
You're available anytime?
Yes, sir.
I'll come and find you then.
Absolutely.
Same time, you both there? Okay. All right. Okay, so, these questions, beat the punch, whatever, I don't know whose are whose, are both of these underneath your?
Yes.
Okay,
The other one was put on because I don't know if there's been expectations on any of the committees. When I looked at our town code, you have representatives from a number of different committees, but any town committee is subject to notice requirements and an agenda. There's not many that are actual committees. There's park committee, there is the communications committee. There's also cable review committee that we don't have anymore. We have a recycling committee, and the rest are representatives. So last month, I came out of a continuing legal education seminar where they were talking about notice requirements and open meetings. And I wrote that there is such thing out there as a negative quorum of the board. That's 2 members, assuming one of our board members is absent or abstains. It only takes 2. So my recommendation on October 17th to the board was for any town committee, especially one with 2 board members on it, and I said like the communications committee, you have to have notice of those meetings. So that's not unique to the communications committee. That's for every town committee. But I can't think of another committee where we have 2 board members on it,
I don't think we do.
you know? So moving forward, we have to make sure that we adhere to that. Otherwise, the case that I cited in that letter, it was litigated, the court determined since it was an improper meeting, anything that came out of that meeting was no good. Now, that one was a little more serious. In that case, there was a meeting to get rid of a plan commission member that wasn't noticed properly. So once they actually removed the plan commission member, the plan commission member sued and ended up getting back on. So certainly nothing that sinister is happening in this town. But it's a reminder that moving forward, there has to be noticed meetings and an agenda, especially if there's 2 board members on the same committee. And then with respect to what goes on the website for for Jen. I think she was wondering, you know, did the town board already approve these? Am I supposed to post these? I said, you know what? The town board needs to have that discussion, because I don't know if there's ever been a discussion regarding what comes out of
We
that.
had a discussion on that. First of all, you know, we were supposed to have 4 newsletters already out this year, we got none.
I don't think we ever said a number.
Well, the plan was 4, and the plan was to be is, you know, if the board gets it, you know, a week or so before a board meeting, and then everybody gets a kick at it, because you can't have an announcement. I mean, I offered to do, like many towns do, where the chairman just has a monthly report, boom, sticks it out there. Nobody else even looks at it, okay? We decided that, no, we're gonna do newsletters. As a matter of fact, we budgeted for it. Matter of fact, it was part of the motions from that annual meeting, says, we're gonna do it. So the intention was that if there's gonna be, you know, a big, not big, an announcement deal where you're talking to 4,100 residents, it should have basically buy-in from the board, and certainly if it's talking about, you know, Kim's job, or Jen's job, or Todd's job, that they certainly get to look at it too. If we start writing stuff about DPW, we're the first guys to say, you know, okay, what out of these 5 things you got here should we put as relevant, okay? And again, at 4 times a year, to me, I always thought that newsletter would be a 2-pager. I think you mentioned it could eventually become more like several.
Nope, we said 2 a year, from the ad hoc committee proposal, and we had talked about putting it in the Good Neighbors, which would be a 1-page insert up to 2 sides.
And it was a price that you
Yeah.
determined for that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Obviously, there were at least 4 initiatives for the communications committee, and the focus was to update the website, which, our hands were tied for a period due to, capabilities in the, internet and updating and, Wi-Fi and things like that. Same thing with the video streaming. We were told those were the priorities.
Yes.
The website, the video streaming, and the Facebook page, and those were the things that were done. And the newsletter is the last thing to be.
Well, the last thing would have been the laptop issue.
And
That's
we
all
heard
true.
from the board that that was no longer a priority.
All right, so I think what we should do is, in that same meeting, we're gonna discuss about, you know, the reports that ties in nicely with, you know, how we have, because we haven't put one out yet, right? So, I mean, do we agree that we all wanna take a look at it?
Oh, yeah, but
Well,
we-
someone make a
yeah,
motion then.
Well, we should be doing that with half the stuff that comes across that we're talking about.
Well,
'Cause there's times I come in here and I don't know anything what you're talking about, cause you have it, or so-and-so has it, I mean,
Well,
if
everything-
we wanna share
Exactly, so
information,
this-
let's share all the information.
If this was a concern with the communications committee, why wasn't
I
it
agree.
communicated to me? Rather than in this public forum?
Which part?
Well, I added
This
it to the
discussion
agenda.
right now,
I
and
added it
as
to
far
the
as the
Right.
agenda.
newsletter.
Well,
being
newsletter,
an
yeah, we've been
agenda,
talking.
And wanting to review it, and no one has presented a newsletter that hasn't been reviewed.
Well,
So
we haven't
again-
had any.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
is-
what I'm saying,
yeah.
it hasn't been presented, so you're making an assumption that you're not gonna see it before it goes out.
No, I think is what Jim is getting to is, we haven't, you know, discussed it as a group to say, this is how we're gonna do it, because we haven't did it yet, right? So I think that would be part of that same meeting about, you know, agendas and reports and that type of thing. So, that would be an expectation, I believe, of saying, what do we want? What do we wanna do? All right?
I think that needs to be done with every committee.
Sure.
It's just best practice.
So I personally have looked into this a little bit. Michelle, I would have brought it up tonight too, because it's official. It should be done at a meeting where we're all here.
Blindsiding the committee?
Well, that's your word. I would have requested you tonight.
I would ask, I would kindly request the courtesy, the respectful courtesy of any questions or concerns about the communications committee be brought to the communications committee so they can be addressed.
You are the chair.
That is what
I'm assuming that it was in your responsibility to properly notice meetings. I have not been able to find an agenda, so under open and transparent government, if nobody knows there's a communication committee meeting, including volunteers participating in the meeting and acting towards, as I understand, a newsletter and with the content of the newsletter, they were not approved by the board, but you invited them to participate in the meeting. So I'm guessing, in good faith, properly noticing the meetings, having agendas, following an appointment and an approval process, you did not feel that that applied to you.
Correct. Not clear.
That was never discussed
That
since
was
we
not
started
clear
this
enough.
committee, or any committee as.
Well, the committee appointees is in the town code. I understand you're saying with the ad hoc committee, you don't think it was handled differently, or I'm not sure
They
what your
posted,
argument is.
didn't we post agendas? I'm sure we did,
For the ad hoc.
for the ad hoc.
Yeah.
They were all posted.
Well, I'm sure it's left here now, but I know there was discussion with Kim on
Because
the
we were
meetings,
official committee.
the ad hoc committee communication with the Dynex you were talking to, or they called you or talked to you. So that was the ad hoc, but
They sent agendas and they were posted.
But-
They weren't on the website, but they were posted.
yeah. Well, and then back to the main agenda for our meeting here. I mean, our own ordinance says that we can all add the items. I get all sorts of items on here. I ask Kim, I said, who had that, who had this? Don't matter. The only discussion takes place here, right here. Okay, so if it's on there, we discuss it. If it gets removed, we gotta vote on that too, but we can't add. Cause if we add something to this agenda, it's not on the posted agenda, now we need to give proper public notice. So, yeah, I guess it's timely then that we are discussing this then, so.
The best general information on how the board operates is in chapter 2.2 of the city ordinance, of the county ordinance, of the town ordinance. Gives a lot of direction that would be applicable for any official committee. I mean, that's helpful.
Well, and if you look at the town officer's handbook, there's a whole section in there about meetings and notices, and, you know, there's town subcommittees. There's case law out there that says, okay, what's an actual governmental body versus just a committee where you don't need the notice, so it's not always clear cut.
Yep.
But moving forward, like I suggested in my letter last month, certainly any committee with 2 board members on it, at least has to be noticed.
Well, you're saying just do them all.
That would be my recommendation.
So the recycling,
Right.
committee, if you meet with Kim or whatever, you gotta post it X amount of days before or whatever, right?
Yeah.
24 hours.
From here on out. Is it 24, is it
3 days.
3 days?
Jim, help me understand the distinction you made earlier about when you have a representative versus a
Right,
committee.
I don't believe that that's an actual committee. That's a town board appointed representative that's reporting to this board what some other committee is doing. Only actual town board committees that this town board formed needs to be properly noticed
Alright.
with an agenda.
So, you know, like, the Lakeview Management District, you know. they're
That's not
responsible-
a town.
Right, they're responsible for publishing their own, agenda and.
Are they required to?
And the fire, same thing, has to be noticed, an agenda and all that. Now, I don't know how you do it with the Booth Lake, cause that's actually 3 different committee, or 3 different municipalities.
And we all posted,
Well-
each municipality posted.
Well, and
That's
I
right.
told Kim, it's listed on here tonight as a committee, but the town code says it's a Booth Lake Memorial Park representative.
Oh, you're right.
So I'm gonna change that to report on the next agenda.
Yep, you're right.
So there's very few.
Yes.
We don't have a cable committee anymore, so it'd be recycling, park, and communications.
Yep. Okay, all right, so like I said, we're gonna have to have a meeting just to flesh this out a little bit more to make sure we're all on the same page. I don't think, there should be any major issues with that.
Now, that would be an open meeting because there's nothing that would make that closed.
Correct. Correct.
You wouldn't put planning in that group?
Oh, planning commission, we already have,
already
they
have.
already do
It's
that.
pretty clean. but
Right.
It's one of them though, that.
It
one.
is, yes, it is.
So, yeah, you provide a report and your meetings obviously are posted.
Yes.
So, okay.
We have staff that does that.
Yeah.
Agendas.
Do they video on them?
We did planning last time, yeah.
We did.
It wouldn't apply to, like, if the management district meets here, or Potter's Lake Homeowner Association, those meetings, the Lake Improvement Association, those are not town committees or town action, that's,
But they
Not
take,
at all.
with the Lake Management District, they take our tax dollars, so why aren't they forced to video?
you have to go to that meeting,
It's not
it's nothing to
required.
do with us.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna move on here, planning commission report, Bill.
Let's grab that. So it was a very straightforward meeting for approving of the land separation certified survey map request. There were two out there, the second one, the person did not show up. So really, my motion would be to approve the land separation CMS request for North 9243 Stringer Bridge Road, East Troy, Wisconsin, parcel number PA 486400003, lot number 3, as represented by Gabriel and Holly Stoner, owners, to separate, I believe this was the 7.02 acre parcel, as specified in their certified survey map presented to the board, to the planning commission. They spoke in favor, no one else spoke for or against said certified survey map request.
All right, so, was that a motion, or you're gonna make a motion?
That is the motion.
That is a motion, okay. Barb, your second, on point of discussion, I just had one question. Was that a C two parcel? C two?
Yes,
C two, okay. All right.
yes.
All right, any other questions on this one? Head on the motion, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? None. Okay, the other one was, no action, so
Till December.
that is your report. Okay, done. Public comments, period number 1. Anybody want to speak?
I'd like to go.
Okay.
This is kind of touching base on what Attorney Mills was saying earlier. You said the Lakeview Management District is required to do their own postings, correct? When they have a
And
meeting?
district, correct.
Yeah, and they're required to by law, post when they have a meeting.
Yeah, because they're taxing authority.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. So what I'd like to present to this board is, this is a picture that was taken today. And this is the property that my 5 yard signs were stolen off of. This is, Mike Larson's property. And if you look at this car right here, it's Stan Algers, it's Dave Bitters, and I'm waiting for my guy at DMV to let me get the number, license plate back on this one, and Greg Thomas. So you've got 4 people on the Lakeview Management District Board that are having a meeting today at 1:20 in the afternoon. So he's talking about a quorum, you know, he's talking about a mega quorum, a walking quorum. I don't know what you want to call it, but I just want to bring it to the attention that that's not being very transparent when you're meeting in people's houses and your cars.
Where was that?
It was parked at Mike Larson's property, right across the street from Greg Thomas's property.
Oh, across the street.
Yeah, where my 5 yard signs were stolen from this past election. So basically,
We'd have to be discussing official business of that governmental body in order for there to be notice requirements.
right, but I thought if you have somebody that is on a board and you have multiple people from that board, they can't be meeting unless the public is notified of it.
If the meeting is called for a governmental purpose, where they'll be voting later on it, then you have to post.
Okay, but how do we know what they're talking about?
I didn't know if it's a party or, so.
You won't.
Okay, so that's my question, so Mr. Clarkowski can't, invite you to his house, or he can, or three of you at his house?
He can, but they can't discuss town business while
So
they're
there's
there.
no, so you.
And to avoid that even being a problem, there never would be three.
If that does happen, like say they all go to a town association meeting, we do notice the quorum.
If you know in advance.
If I know in advance,
Right.
I notice the quorum, and it's posted in 3 spots.
And that's why the plan commission is posted.
And that's what we do here at the town. Can't
Okay.
speak for the management
All right,
district.
before we burn up all my 3 minutes, let me get on to a different subject, please. At the electors meeting, the annual meeting, I don't believe it was last year, but I believe it was the year before, we talked about, anybody that uses this facility that receives taxpayer money, that they would live stream the videos so that the public can keep an eye on what's happening here with our taxpayers' money. And I don't know if the town has to make a resolution or has to pass an ordinance. How does that work? Can somebody explain to me what needs to be done in order to make sure that the electors' wishes are done that we spoke of?
Okay.
Someone would have to make a motion at that electors meeting, second it, and be voted upon.
And it's still
It can't just
advisory.
be general discussion, and it'd be advisory only because it's not one of the elector powers listed in 60.10.
Right, and it would also have additional cost to our staff, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
We have ARPA funds for that, Joe.
No, we don't.
I'm joking.
Not for that.
It would cost, additional overtime for our media representative.
I don't think Jen would mind working a little extra overtime.
She doesn't wanna be here on Saturdays.
Saturday morning?
No.
They don't have many meetings,
Or-
trust me, I know, I go to them.
Or a,
Yeah, I would say most
Thursday,
of these questions that
Wednesday
you brought up,
evening at 7 o'clock.
probably bring up at their meeting.
They
Right.
don't like to talk
They don't
about it.
like, yeah.
Don't like talk?
No.
Well, they have public comments, don't they?
They do,
They have
but
an attorney
they
as well.
they have it right in their agenda that we're not required to talk back to you during public comments. So they
If
are
it's not on
the
the
door
agenda,
shut.
which is the same as yours.
Right.
Same as yours.
So if I wanted to try to make what the electors requested, I would have to, at the annual meeting, make a motion to say, and I'll even bring the video of when we all asked for it last time and everyone was in agreement to it. And that's kind of how we got the live streaming here, is because the public wanted to be able to see what's going on here. I've been recording these meetings for 2.5 years. I don't mind doing it. I'm gonna continue to do it. And I'm gonna keep the stuff available for as long as YouTube holds out. I don't care. But I just think, I believe in transparency and I believe in everybody should be on the same page and we shouldn't have any sneaky forums or walking forums or any forums.
Okay,
Thank you.
public comments, anyone else?
I just have a quick one.
Sure.
As we were talking about the increase, of, ambulance and all that, what flashed through my head is, are we considering at all what might happen when we have a hotel that opens? Now you're looking at 600 people going through, maybe for, that large, if there's like a concert and things. I mean, are we considering any of that extra cost that may occur with the hotel?
Would be in next year's budget.
Or are we just praying it isn't gonna happen?
I go to church.
Huh?
I go to church.
But I mean, really, that's gonna be a big added cost.
Okay. All right, anybody else? Public comments, last chance. Okay, unfinished business. That yours too, Jim?
Yeah, I told Kim to leave that on in case we had discussion and any appointments that were done tonight, it could be updated tonight.
Okay, I got you. I got you,
So one comment I would like to make, and it's again, my background in both city and government and Walworth County government is, when members are selected, chosen, volunteered to be on committees or commissions, there's generally a process of a bio statement, a list of interests, and certainly there is an interview. And you get to know the person and why they want to be on these particular committees. I think something like that might be a good idea for us to consider as we consider how we're putting our own town agenda together, as we consider how and who committees and commissions are gonna report to us. I would add that to the list. Until such time as that special meeting occurs and we resolve, I think we should put a moratorium on new members or approving new members, in part to get this done as quickly as possible, perhaps by the end of the year.
Okay. All right. So there's nothing to act on there, so let's move on. New
So
business?
we have capable, competent, valuable volunteers, and we're going to put them on hold rather than adding value and delivering in the board expectations of my newsletter.
Well, I don't know if that's a fair representation. You've determined individually how competent they are, how valuable they are, what they're willing to communicate. But because the town code says the town board has to approve, they have to know something about these people too. I mean, last month you guys voted on a resolution that had a whole bunch of names on it. I don't know how much you know about each of those people.
I've never heard any, I was voluntold on every committee I'm on, I was never
I
asked,
would
what are you
be
gonna be
willing
on?
to
Boom, boom, here you go.
bet.
I'm like, okay,
That Leah
there's no interview.
and Danny and Grace Bird were never interviewed or spoken to by any of the board members.
So that's why I think this
Were they
call
approved?
for a meeting
They were on the
is
resolution last month.
probably overdue.
Early in May, they were on the resolution.
Yeah.
It's just, again, Michelle, and I'm not picking on you or on the communication committee, but just say in general, the way we do business, especially with wanting openness, which we are certainly getting better at, and transparency, which we're getting better at. This is some of the stuff I think we need to clean up. How we do our agendas, how we post, how the board makes decisions on what's approved and put out to the general public. I mean, this is stuff we must do, and we should do it, and this is urgent. I mean, I know the holidays are coming and deer hunting's coming, but I think it should be done within the next 2 months. You could not ask Joe to put the, Mr. and Mrs. Jones on the board until December anyway. So we have 6 weeks, 10 weeks to tackle this.
Oh, it was posted today, consideration of new appointees to the communications committee, so we could vote on it today.
Well, that's so we can have any discussion at all about this topic. It had to be on an
Yes,
agenda.
That's why you put it on there.
Which is my very first, to full circle here, 60% of this agenda could be actionable without us knowing a darn thing about anybody or anything or any dollars or, that's not a good way of running government.
Yeah, and again, this resolution is on there, according to at least the discussion I had with Jim, is that, you know, there is a process, okay, there is, you know, an ordinance on it, and it appeared that didn't happen, okay, and it's gotta happen, period. Okay, so I will have that discussion with ones I'm sure they've been seeing enough here lately, they know a lot about us, you know, and if it's appropriate, you know, whether it's before the December or after, might depend on another meeting when we do discuss potentially, you know, our Title II, because there's a lot in here that maybe hasn't been looked at for a while.
But the point I was making is this, even if you have that discussion, and you recommend to the board, and Michelle recommends to the board, the whole board has to vote on them.
Correct.
You know, so, I don't know, maybe there's a meet and greet opportunity at a board meeting for some of that to happen.
Or like Bill mentioned, just, they could do like a one-page or
A
one
bio
paragraph
summary or something.
introduction or something, so that every board member would have like a little background, and then,
On every member of every town committee.
So does the
That should
board
be
have
done.
to approve them separate from approving the resolution before they would be put on the resolution?
No.
So the resolution actually is the
As you
approval
vote on the
process.
resolution, you can go committee by committee
Okay.
and, you know,
Approve
disapprove of whoever you wanna disapprove of.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, when we started your committee, that was a posting, I believe, on our website that said, we're looking for volunteers. You
Yeah,
wrote the
yeah.
article.
Yeah.
And when we got that, you said, how many we got?
Yeah.
You said, you got 3.
Mhm.
Okay, I put them right on there. Put them right on there. That's how we did it. Are we gonna open this one up again?
No, it's on the website.
No?
It's on the
That
website.
posting is still up
That's why I
there.
responded.
Never taken
Oh, the
down.
original one.
Still
Yes.
on the
Still up
website.
there.
Oh,
I
yeah.
responded.
That's why they responded.
It's still
And
up.
they've been at the meeting, so they heard we have lost some of those
Must
members
not be managing the website very well, I guess.
'Cause they're active.
I think that should be up there.
in the community.
Oh, check that.
Unfortunately, some of the old postings were put up by the town web employees, so it's kind of impossible to look every single place. So if you notice something like that,
Yeah,
please
let us
bring it
know.
to
I
our
didn't know
attention.
that.
just like
Is
not
that
too long
done?
ago, I noticed there was a recycling thing from 2013 that I got rid of.
Never
And when we had in there, I told you to put back in was the needs assessment that we had up there, you know, a couple of years ago, and there was a question, I said, put it back on
And when
there.
things are put on spotlight, there's only so many spaces
Yeah.
and then they get bumped off.
And I guess why wouldn't you wanna continue to have that, since what does the communication committee have on it right now? 2 people?
3.
Three,
No,
two board,
that's
two
the
board
point.
members.
You know,
The
so,
point is,
so
it's
why
still
not?
posted right now, so
So why
So,
wouldn't, right,
yeah.
so
Already
why,
done.
So that's why they
so it
reached
could
out.
still be up, I mean, you're still
Certainly could.
looking for volunteers.
absolutely.
Yep.
But there's still that vetting process, but yeah,
People that
it's
actually
very
come to
legit
meetings,
that it's
you know,
still
that makes a
on it.
difference, you know,
It's
so.
very legit that
Okay.
it's still on the
We'll
website,
Definitely, meet.
that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
So if, I have one more. If Joe and Mary Jo do a simple bio paragraph,
Email
bring it
them.
in,
sounds like
Or
we're,
We don't
email it
know
to
yet,
me.
because the board never met to decide what they want to have done.
You mean for the newsletter?
No, for
the committee.
agendas, for identifying who is asking to put items on the agenda, for volunteers on committees and commissions,
reports.
Town board
Reports,
review of
what-
committee actions.
a standard format for a report or no report. Frankly, one of the things I dislike about is my memory isn't what it used to be. So I get verbal reports here from several of the members of the committee, and I don't expect Gene's notes to be official minutes of what they did. I think that should be submitted by the representative of that committee and commission to this body to be accepted and approved. And then frankly, it could be part of a consent agenda where we don't even have to have the individuals present. They could submit their reports. Now, in Chad's case, or Michelle's case, or Barb's case, they're here. But if other members of committees and commissions that might be required to submit a report, they could just submit the report, they wouldn't have to be here.
And again, the differentiation between, you know, a representative versus a committee, and that's a big difference, so. That's the one we have here today, so. Okay, let's move on. New business, recent WTA communication regarding.
No, there's one before that online. Did we remove proposal from Luncheon Associates?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we removed that. Yeah, we don't have it yet. You didn't get it today, did you? Nothing?
No.
Okay.
Okay. So that one is gone? Are we official? I got it
I
on
don't
mine.
have it on
I don't
mine.
have it on mine.
I don't have.
What's the first one you got? Oh, I must have.
Recent communication.
Yeah, that's what I just mentioned, recent.
Yeah, but he was saying,
Oh, yeah, that, there's no action on that because we don't have it yet. Okay, so again, the recent WTA communication, there are 2 new funding programs out there, Bridge and Roads. Lynch prepared our proposal, or not our proposal, but our grant application for the BIL program. We did not get it. He obviously has all the pictures, all the information, all the data. He just has to tweak those applications and fill out the new form. I told him to submit to the town here, so we have something to look at. I was hoping we'd get it, soon, but we don't have it yet. I'm sure he's doing this for a whole pile of other communities too. So there's really nothing we can do on it, other than, yes, there's 2 other programs recently announced that, would be eligible for. Unfortunately, they still haven't changed the law to allow that bridge to be considered as part of a standalone bridge replacement, because it's not 20-foot span. It can be, however, a part of a road project, where it's road, you know, curb and gutter, bridge, you know, and the like. So that's, what we're gonna be getting from, Lynch. The only question is, do you wanna have another one or not?
Can you help me understand what bridges Lynch is preparing?
Just one, and that's the project we submitted under the BIL program, which is East Shore Drive from, like Greg Thomas's garage down to the intersection of Beach Drive and the bridge, the culvert that's sagging/sinking. So it's a bridge, the roadway, and then there was some drainage issues, I believe on Tyson's seawall. We looked at it down there. Part of it comes off the road. There could be some contributors from private property possibly too, but it's really roadway water. So that's part of that project too. That's why this is not our standard just repave job. This is a little bit more complicated. So there are 2 programs we can submit that to.
Are there any other bridges we should consider? You're saying this one here doesn't qualify?
Well, we're gonna inspect Stringer and Beulah Heights, and we already have a contract for fixing up what's obviously has to be done on Beulah Heights Road, and that's just stonework.
Yeah, after we get inspected, so we know exactly what.
Right. It's possible that they find something else, and then maybe that goes away. But no, the only, program he's submitting that one is East Shore. After we have our meeting with the railroad, we could potentially submit another one, but that one there, we would need an agreement with the railroad, so we don't get stuck
On our road,
playing the
right.
whole damn thing, you know?
For our bridge.
Right, and that one's not falling apart anytime soon, but it's,
But Stringer's Bridge and Beulah Heights are small enough, that's why we don't wanna submit anything, or?
no, we don't know if there's any issues with them, major issues. We know what we can see on Beulah Heights.
Yeah, but
Stringer's Bridge, the only thing we heard is, John, you said there's some bolts.
If you want, I have about 8 pictures in my phone I can email to you that show a lot of the nuts and bolts falling off, some heavy rusting going on between the ribs of the culvert. So I'll be happy to send it over
Please.
because I took pictures of it.
Yeah, I'll probably send that to, Collins or Ayers when we do the request for that.
Because those bridges are like 60 years old. I think they were put in like 58 or 61 somewhere back then. They're old.
Yeah,
Cause I think this was extended, if I remember reading it, until March, right? So will we have?
one is March and one may be June. I thought there was 2 different dates, but again, the guy that does this every day, he's gonna have them.
So that those assessments are scheduled for when?
Probably spring when they got open water,
Um,
cold water, you know. Again, there's various levels of when you can submit these things here.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the question, if there's more we should be looking at, and
Actually, no,
Like the
because
opportunity.
neither one of those bridges are gonna fall in next year. I mean, there's no issues that are evident.
but they
but-
talked about like all this funding available, right?
Yeah, it said that about the BIL program, and the amount of award came out to 8% of the money that was requested. 8%, but it was 500 projects submitted, you know, when we had one, we did it, so.
Just wanted
Okay.
to ask.
Intergovernmental agreement, Town of Troy, the reason looking at this one, because you guys may recognize, maybe not. The last time we did this was one of the first years with the Tri-Troy Alliance. We had a lot of agreements between the town and the village that, were handshake only. Mary, you were at all those meetings, you heard it all. And we said, we're gonna get these all in writing, this is one of them, this is the agreement between Troy and East Troy on the road maintenance, not the bridges, but the roads. And when we were looking for this, actually the clerk from Troy said, hey, we don't have a signed copy to you, we didn't find one either. So we did a couple tweaks, it's a latitude longitude on here, And there was one stat reference you said they had changed or didn't change on this one?
I don't recall there being a statutory reference that changed.
Okay.
All I remember is them adding the GPS coordinates.
Yeah, and I checked those and they're fine. We wanna get this so we have it in our files. So, like I said, this is really an existing agreement, that we just tweaked a little bit, so, you want it
So
read?
there's reference to also the village and the town of Lafayette, but it's only gonna be signed by and Troy.
We removed, oh wait a minute, top. No, that's just seeing where the road goes, but you're right. There was a reference, wait a minute here, this is not the one, this is not the one that I told him to do. I told him two things. One, get my middle initial in there, cause official document, and two, remove Lafayette from, page 1, because they're not party to this, it's just and we don't have an agreement with them anyway. So,
Who drafted that?
Troy,
So,
I don't know where this copy came from, but I have the ones that the town of Troy
okay, what
sent
you
me that
got,
are signed by them, and it does not include the town of Lafayette.
okay, so they made the change there, but the one we have posted here still mentions town of Lafayette. So,
Yeah.
I told him to strike that and then put my middle initial, and that's all I told him to change. And, that's what I changed.
And
It
that,
does mention the village as well,
Right, but we do have agreements with them, just not this
Yeah.
one.
it's a separate.
and they did add your initial, so we're good.
Okay, all right, so then we are good, so we need a motion to approve this,
oh, this copy's good.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Not their copy.
Money.
Their copy is not,
So I can throw this one away.
Ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
On page 2, section E, under therefore, where it says each party is solely responsible for all maintenance, paving, and snow plowing. I'm wondering if, while it says that neither party shall be responsible for the acts or failures of the other to act, do any of the municipalities ever do, like, snow plowing for another municipality and charge? Or is it strictly, that's yours, this is mine?
that's what this agreement is,
That's yours, this is yours.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we never do something for somebody else and charge them?
No, that has nothing to do with it.
Just checking.
Yeah, this is to fix the roads, maintain them.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
So do you need a motion
Yes.
to waive the reading?
Well, this is an agreement.
It's an agreement.
You guys already all read this, or do you want to read it again? Did you read it coming before this meeting? You
I
read it?
read it.
You read it? You read it? Chad, you okay?
Yeah, I read it before we got here.
Okay, we need a motion then, we can go.
I'll make a motion that we enter into an agreement between the town of East Troy, the town of Troy regarding the roadway maintenance, paving, and snow plowing of town line roads.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a
That motion has to approve the version that removes the town of Lafayette and includes Joe's middle initial, if that's not what you guys have.
That's not what's in this packet, but that's what you have.
Right.
All right, is that your amendment?
I'll amend my motion to include that we are going with the version that removes the town of Lafayette and includes Joe Petrosky's middle initial.
Okay. Now do we have a second? I'll second that. All right, discussion, questions, any, not? On the motion, all in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, none. Okay. I'll sign that with the checks. All right, proposal from Symbiont for 2023 groundwater consulting services. This is at the landfill by the airport.
I did review it, did not have any issues with it.
Seems pretty standard that we had last year.
Yeah, it is, except for the price increase.
$14,380. And that's for the spring and fall testing, the actual testing, and then the lab fees and reporting back to us.
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract with Symbiont. From Symbiont for the 2023 groundwater consulting services in the amount of $14,380 for spring and fall testing.
I'll second.
Motion second to approve that contract with Symbiont. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None. Motion carried. All right, and then we have the reval proposal, associate appraisal, we discussed it at the budget meetings. We've all had a chance to review that, we know why we're doing it. If we didn't actually act on this, if we didn't act on this until the middle of next year, it's possible that we would get bumped out, this will sound pretty tight. So the amount here, and this one is reported in our budget for that interim market update is $15,000, not the $110,000 version, which is probably a good thing. So, does anybody have any questions on this one? None? If not, need a motion to approve this one.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2023 reevaluation proposal from Associated Appraisal Consultants in the amount of $15,000 for a interim market review update.
I'll second.
All right, Chad, second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None, motion carried. All right, attorney's report, anything?
Nope.
All right, public comments period number 2, anybody? Yes, Mr. Jones. Come on up. You seen us work the clock here before?
Oh, I've seen the clock,
Okay.
seen the clock. Wait till I get to the podium, please.
Still zeros.
All right, I'm good. I came to these meetings starting in June. I've been to every one. I've been trying to participate, learn, get educated. And I think the board needs to get their act together before they start coming out looking at public. If that was an ordinance, then I don't understand where's the committee's, what did you assign the committee to do? When I apply for a job, I usually get some sort of a job description, right, or something. Where is that?
It's the original study that was put together, actually the program put together, the ad hoc committee put together, that had the plan, and then the board then said, implement. And that's when Michelle took over and say, implement that
Okay.
program.
And that's along with the posting that's on the website?
If not, you've not seen the comprehensive communication committee report.
No. I haven't. And where is it? Is it on the?
Can you give it to them or I'll send it?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was, has been, it was posted at one time.
Yeah, it was the ad
I'm
hoc
not
committee.
aware of it being.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a full report called the
So
Ad hoc Communications Committee.
I'm just dumbfounded because I see a thing that says, hey, we want volunteers. You've been crying for volunteers. You and I had discussions about the police garage. And I'm saying, obviously, I'm not seeing the information or knowing where to find it, or it's not being communicated. And either way, I could make a contribution
Sure.
in the communications avenue. So before I submit any kind of bio, I want the board to tell me what you're wanting this, and apparently Michelle can't make that determination, so I want the board to tell me what you want the communications committee to do. And then I'll make a decision whether I wanna be on the committee or
Well,
not.
that discussion you could have, Michelle is the chairman of that committee.
Right.
Okay, so you could.
But it
have
sounds like the
discussion.
board
We
has to
can't
approve.
discuss
Yeah,
with
that's
him
right.
what the
Well,
board expectations are before the
Again,
board has
again,
even
again,
discussed it.
and again.
Okay, so we're doing the old egg and the chicken.
Yep, keep my hands tied.
Oh, man.
I mean,
Yeah,
I,
she-
Expect me to deliver,
Yeah, she
but
was putting-
tie my hands.
I'm dumbfounded and confused, quite frankly, and I'm wondering why I'm attending these meetings, because it just doesn't make sense to me, so. That's all I have, is my three, look at that, I got 3 seconds.
27 seconds.
Thank you.
All right, all right, anybody else? Rob?
Sure.
You're here.
I was part of
To
the,
bitter end.
I was part of the original ad hoc communications committee. Bill, I was on there with you,
I'm sure
Michelle.
you, of course you were.
What's that?
Of course you were.
Michelle, I was on there with you as well.
That was too bad.
John was
was
too. John was too, John Jacoby was too, and, we had, Jess and Linda Dynick went on there. And as far as, just my opinion, you guys are crying for public input and participation. And if there's a town appointed official that's running a committee, whatever that committee may be, I would suggest that they have the ability, if there's a volunteer who wants to work under them, to be able to have that person work under them without a interview process from the entire board. Different people work differently with people. If I reach out to Bill and say, hey, I wanna be on the fire and rescue committee, you know, you tell me to go talk to Barb, you know, and it works that way. And it's just, when you interview people and they have to come before a board, you're gonna get less public participation. You know, it's difficult. So, and I'm happy with the job we did on the ad hoc committee.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Jim, I got a question for you. Does, with that being, is it just their committee, is it because there's 2 board members on it that they'd have to notice everything?
No, it's any,
Or it would be any of them?
any,
Well, that's what makes that one in particular unique. It's a 3-person committee and 2 of the 3 members are board members. And what I learned at the seminar in the month of October that I wrote to the board about was this discussion on negative quorums and how 2 board members could constitute a negative quorum. So specifically for that meeting, it has to be noticed and there has to be an agenda. But it should be done with all town committees.
Committees are just advisory. The committee can't make any decisions. The committee advises, and then the board approves what was advised, or declines it.
Ideally, that's
You had no
how it's supposed to
authority on
work.
the communications committee.
So far,
to make
the
a decision.
money
You
spent,
presented an option.
We just need to make that very clear.
Yeah.
yes.
And spell it out. You know, make a motion on it. Have that motion seconded and voted upon. That way, you have a board recommendation. Right now, if something's being either not communicated or everyone thinks that the expectations are different. And the only reason why that's happening is because you guys have never met. To spell out what the expectations are.
Expectations, you're correct.
And I think that's fair too, because it takes the pressure off of that committee that if they have to bring back their recommendations to the board for approval, and just like when planning commission does it, the planning commission makes their recommendations, the board then has any questions that they have, but it takes some of that responsibility off of just that planning commission. So like even the playground committee, bring the recommendation that you have for the equipment. This is what we've looked at, this is what we think is gonna fit our demographic. Do you approve it? Yes. You know what I mean? Then if somebody thinks that it was crappy equipment, well, it was approved by the board. You know what I'm saying? So it takes that responsibility off. They've made their recommendation, this is what we've looked at, this is what we think is best for the situation and the demographic.
Or was there a better use of town money? It takes it off the one person who's the
Right.
committee chair and puts it on the board because the board as
Right.
a whole voted on
I
it.
think it just helps alleviate that, without, questioning every little thing that they do, just like the planning commission, you don't question every little thing they do. You say, did you do your due diligence, did you look at this, did you look at this, what was that? We make that as part of the minutes, you make that as part of a motion. It's the same thing then with the park committee or the communication committee, you bring what you wanna do, the board approves it, and it takes some of that responsibility from that person, because the board approved it.
Obviously, there's a big difference between the planning commission versus the Parks Committee and the Communications
Sure.
Committee, because
There is.
Parks Committee, I was handed over just some background information from Barb, there's no actual committee on one.
Yeah,
And the
committee of one, you
communications-
probably don't need to know
Right.
this.
And the Communications Committee was newly formed.
Right.
So,
But I'm just saying, if we're gonna start
I don't
putting
think
these
there's a
requirements
comparison.
on these committees, and you're requiring board approval, then it takes some of that pressure off of that chairperson of that committee. Some of that responsibility off of them, because they brought it to the board approved it.
let's move on.
And it's a committee of the board to begin with,
Great,
so.
okay, all right,
Wait, we got public comments over here.
who?
Me.
Oh,
I didn't get my
you
time.
didn't get your second 3 minutes?
No, I'm coming up for my second 3 minutes. You can have my 30 seconds.
Oh, that was a.
That was the first one.
Go ahead.
Okay, so, my question is, there's been a lot of talk about negative quorums, and rules, and Attorney Mills is fresh off a seminar on it. Can anybody share with the public, because, you know, we're recording it, I'm recording, you're recording it, and what are the ramifications if you break a quorum rule or you do something? Is there a board that sanctions you? Is there an organization that comes after you? You gotta put 50 cents in the cup, what do they make you do, or what happens?
Well,
I spoke to that earlier. In my letter to the board, a meeting was not properly noticed. Action was later taken to remove a plan commission member.
All right.
That person sued. And the court invalidated the action of that illegal meeting.
Okay,
a lot of money.
And that was, yeah,
so,
As far as, you're saying as far as the person that failed to notice, what repercussions are them? Or
well,
town money?
to the
back?
organization, like say for instance, my example I used today, the Lake Beulah Management District had 3 or 4 known management board members at one place. Now, I don't know what they're talking about in there, I wasn't in the building, but I'm just saying, if you have those people there, I don't know if they were talking about the Packer game the whole time there, they might have been talking about other stuff while they were there. So, you know, it just doesn't look good, the perception is you got these people meeting, their cars are all sitting outside the guy's house there, they're all on the board. It's, you know, the day of a electors meeting here and a town board meeting, and it just doesn't look good to the eye that this is going on. Now, does the management district suffer for them doing that? Does the public think less of them? I mean, what happens? I mean, I'm just trying to get a handle on what happens or how does it work?
So
I
kind
don't
of where
know.
does that burden of proof lie?
it's too speculative of a question.
Yeah, that one.
Depends what the harm was, if there was any official action taken. I mean, there's millions of missing variables in your scenario.
So what we have to do is we have to address it with their attorney.
I would say, if you believe that there's an appearance of impropriety happening, and that's your example, share it with them. See what they do about it.
I know, cause the whole
Okay.
question here is improving transparency.
Right, which we are,
And
I think
it
the
just
town is
seems
getting there,
that-
it's good.
Okay, they're not a part of the town responsibility, but yet they have large influence.
And they accept
So what I
taxpayer
find
funding.
kind of,
They do tax the.
They get $198,000 a year from the county,
yeah,
and they use that as they see fit to run and take care of the lake, which is great. But, you know, if we have to follow the rules, they have to follow the rules. I mean, that only seems fair.
give me my 3 minutes, no, I want to go.
Jim, it's part of a potential answer is there's criminality, so you could actually be breaking laws, or there's code of ethics violations, there are.
Possible, but I would need more
levels of-
information
Right.
in his scenario to
Agreed.
give any opinion on that.
Right.
But you as a board, would you even take that chance?
No, we wouldn't.
Exactly, so why are they so arrogant that they can take that chance?
That's a question.
Well, they were talking about the Packer game, so how?
I don't
what's
care,
arrogant about
would
that?
you take the chance of getting together
I don't
like
think
that?
this board would.
With your pledge to serve the community, would you take that chance? To be more transparent? I wouldn't. If I'm serving on this board, I would not take that chance. And that shows they have disrespect for transparency. I don't know.
You're
Yeah.
making a leap there, because you don't know what was discussed either,
But I-
whether it was
but-
governmental or not.
That's my point.
I'll give you an
Would you
example.
take the chance?
2 or 3 years ago, I was
Just
at a Lakeview
morally.
Management District meeting, and I said to Dave Bitter during public comments, I said, Dave Bitter, if the people of this lake knew how you guys spent the money, exactly how you spent it, I said they would run you out of here on a rail.
Don't they have a budget hearing?
No.
Or a
And,
meeting?
and Dave Bitter, sitting up on the bench there, he goes, I doubt it. So that basically was a slap in the face to everybody that wants transparency, wants to know where their money's going.
Well, I'm sure you have it recorded.
Oh, it's on
Well, yeah,
YouTube,
but-
you can
but
watch
why
it.
should that be our responsibility? All we're doing is fighting for the right of
Right.
transparency.
And all I can say
It
is,
shouldn't
I
be our total
advise the town board, and I know it's not the town board's responsibility to address, you know, what you're bringing to it tonight.
Well-
I understand that you may have frustration,
Well,
but your answer's not with this board.
Well, okay, but we're just.
No, we're not finding fault here.
No, we're
Don't
not
pick on
finding
these
fault,
guys.
but
No, I'm just telling you,
saying
there's not much that they can do.
So we have to go
So-
to their attorney and ask questions.
Yes.
Yeah, we're
It's not-
out of sync here. Okay, any comments? Here none, okay. License and special event permits,
None tonight.
special pending meetings, we have a list.
Okay, November 16th at 6:30 is the Booth Lake Memorial Park Board. Are you saying our November 17th charter meeting is canceled?
Yes. Yeah, and actually, I thought that one was just, yeah, no, we were gonna do it in November.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're, if we have it, it'll be December, I don't have one listed. Cause there's nothing to talk about on that committee now, that board, our 3 boards.
What about the ETA?
We need the answers. Not even that, we'll get more information at our meeting in December.
Okay.
All right,
November 24th and 25th, the town hall will be closed for Thanksgiving. December 7th and 21st are the next scheduled planning commission meetings. December 12th at 6:30 is the next town board meeting. December 19th through the 22nd is the beginning of tax collection. December 21st is the Booth Lake Memorial Park Board meeting. December 23rd and December 26th, the town hall will be closed for the holiday. And December 27th through the 30th will be tax collection continuing.
And the first and third Monday of each month is the communications committee, which would be December 5th and 19th.
Will there be agendas?
Apparently.
Yes.
Michelle, what were
My
you
opinion
saying?
is yes.
The 5th and the 19th.
Thank you.
The first and third Monday,
And that's at 6 PM.
6:30. Has not changed.
The ETA ESD meets tomorrow night at 5:30.
It'll be the 15th, 5:30,
5 o'clock, sorry.
5 o'clock. ETA, I think I sent the agenda out to everybody. All right, and that's it.
that's it, okay. All right, we're gonna adjourn and just pay some bills here, what we want this thing. We need a motion to adjourn,
I move we adjourn.
need a second.
A second.
Michelle, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none.